They didn't know who he was. Just another dad in line. Just another man with bags on his eyes and a little girl hanging off his arm. The kind of man you walk past without ever realizing what he's capable of. But in just 26 seconds, he reminded the world that some men are forged in fire, that heroes don't wear capes or badges. They wear calluses, carry grocery bags, and protect what matters, no matter the cost. This is the story of Mason Carter, a single father, a former soldier, and the man who took down 6 armed men with nothing but his hands to save a child he didn't know. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because stories like this, they aren't fiction. They're a reminder of what real courage looks like. It was a Saturday morning in Phoenix, Arizona. Late July. The kind of heat that melted the skin off pavement. The kind of heat that kept people inside. But not Mason Carter. He stood outside a neighborhood cafe, waiting for his 7-year-old daughter, Lila, to finish her blueberry muffin. She had crumbs on her chin and juice on her fingers. Mason gently wiped her mouth, all the while keeping his eyes on the street, always watching, always scanning. Even after all these years, Mason had served in the 75th Ranger Regiment, 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. But after losing his wife to cancer 5 years ago, he left the battlefield behind, left the uniform, the guns, the adrenaline. Now he worked construction, lived paycheck to paycheck, and raised Lila alone. No medals on the wall, no stories shared at bars. Just quiet mornings, packed lunches, and bedtime stories that always ended with, "Daddy's here, you're safe." But what the world didn't know was that the war never really leaves a man like Mason. It was supposed to be just a quick stop. Mason promised Lila she could pick out her birthday dress early. So they headed to the Skyline Mall, a sprawling place where tourists mixed with locals, and the hum of air conditioning gave people a reason to stay longer. They parked near the west entrance. Mason held her hand tighter than usual. Something felt off. He couldn't explain it, couldn't define it, but every step into the building made his stomach tighten just a little more. The kind of feeling he used to get in hostile zones. That crawling tension at the base of the spine. But he said nothing, just smiled down at Lila and kept walking. They stopped by the candy store, then the carousel, then the main plaza, where a fashion show was about to start. Dozens of people gathered. Families, kids, teenagers with phones out. A stage had been set up. Music was playing. And that's when it happened. A dark blue utility van came screeching down the loading ramp, tires squealing, ignoring all signs. People turned confused. Then the van crashed through a side gate and onto the main floor. Panic, screams. And then 6 masked men jumped out. Not thieves, not vandals. Tactically trained, armed, moving with purpose. Mason's first instinct was Lila. He crouched low, held her tight, whispered in her ear, "Run to that display. Hide. Don't move until you hear my voice. Count to 100, baby. Daddy's got this." Lila hesitated. "Go." She ran. That was the last time she looked back. The clock started the moment Mason turned his back to her. 0:01. The first man raised a stun baton toward a boy on the stage. 8 years old, frozen in fear. Mason launched forward, grabbing a folding chair on his way. He hurled it like a discus, cracked the baton wielder in the temple. Man down. 0:07. Another attacker turned, pulled a small pistol. Mason grabbed a metal pole from a collapsed banner and smacked the gun clean out of his hand. Used the same pole to jab the man in the throat. Man down. 0:11. A third attacker came in swinging with brass knuckles. Mason took a blow to the shoulder. It hurt, but he absorbed it, countered with a headbutt, then a brutal knee to the gut. Man down. 0:15. Now 2 came at once. One had a taser, the other a blade. Mason kicked the trash can into the blade man's legs, tripping him. He dodged the taser wires, got in close, and used the attacker's own elbow to dislocate his shoulder. Both men down. 0:23. The final man grabbed the child and sprinted toward the exit. 0:24. Mason ran. 0:25. He leapt tackled the kidnapper mid-sprint, wrapped himself around the child, rolled, took the brunt of the fall, heard his own ribs crack. 026, silence. All 6 men were down. Security finally arrived. Late, too late. What they found was a war zone. 6 groaning bodies, a sobbing child, and a bleeding man cradling a stranger son. Mason sat there, refusing help until he saw Lila's face peeking from behind a vending machine. She ran to him, crying. He hugged her with one arm and whispered, "Told you Daddy would find you." The media went wild. Mall hero saves boy from kidnappers with bare hands. Single dad drops 6 armed men. Ex-soldier goes full Rambo at Skyline Mall. But Mason refused interviews, declined medals, avoided cameras. He didn't want fame, didn't want glory. He only agreed to speak once, on a podcast hosted by his old squad leader, now a motivational speaker. What he said left millions in silence. "I didn't do it to be brave. I did it because I'm a father. You don't wait for heroes when your kid's in danger. You become the damn hero." 2 weeks passed. Then one evening, there was a knock at Mason's door. Standing there was the boy he saved, Ethan, and his mother. She was holding flowers. Ethan had a card in his tiny hands. It said, "You're my real-life superhero. Thank you for saving me." Mason broke down. He hugged the boy for what felt like hours. And in that moment, he realized something. He didn't leave the battlefield. He brought it home and turned it into something worth fighting for. The story inspired a national movement. Project SHIELD, a nonprofit that trained single parents in self-defense, emergency tactics, and situational awareness. Mason never ran it. He didn't want the spotlight. But his name, his story, it became the foundation of everything the movement stood for. No badge, no weapon, just a dad who refused to stand still.